But we want people to understand that there are people who will literally leave us out of history, or they will minimize our role in history. The best example of this is Claudette Colvin. Many people don't realize that before Rosa Parks took that seat on the bus, there was a young girl who took that same seat, not the exact seat, but took that seat on the bus. And she has not received the acclaim that she richly deserves for what she did. She is the person who also filed the lawsuit that went before the courts that caused the bus line to be integrated. So let's today recognize Claudette Colvin. Her stolen legacy is going to be recognized today. Let's recognize her. And we have to protect the legacies of people that we know. This is why I have a resolution pending in Congress to protect the legacy of the Honorable Al Edwards, the father of Juneteenth. We cannot allow that to be diminished. Why have a piece of legislation in Congress to protect the legacy of the Honorable Sylvester Turner, who served us for 8 years as mayor of the city of Houston? Why have a piece of legislation to protect the legacy of the Honorable Sheila Jackson Lee, because she served us well? Why I plan to make sure that we don't ever allow ourselves to become so complacent as to believe that other people are going to write the history that we have written for ourselves. It's time for us to stand with those people who made history, who made it possible for us to be here. They are the enslaved people whose lives will suffer for some 240 years to make America the country it is. Yes, America's a good country, but it's good because it had good people whose lives were sacrificed. So today, let's recognize the enslaved people. Give them the ovation that they couldn't receive in life. Give them the credit that they deserve now for the work that they did. They built the Capitol. They built the White House. They built the roads. They built the bridges. They are the people who fed the country. They planted the seeds and harvested the crops. Show them some love, please. But we also have to do something else. We've got to tell the truth about the role some other people have played in this history. We've got to tell the truth. And the truth is, there are some people who don't think too highly of us. And because they don't think too highly of us, they do dastardly deeds. I said dastardly with a D, that's not a B. And I'm going to be honest with you and tell you the truth about some of the contemporary things that are occurring that we have to deal with. We've got to deal with things wherein we have a press that minimizes the good deeds of our people. And I believe the best example is a living example. I'm going to show you now a video. And I want you to see this video because I have some comments about what has not been done in the aftermath of the video. Would you please cue the video?
Yo soy su congresista, Al Green.
Yes.
Sono un poco de español. And because I speak a little Spanish, I shall finish my message in English. Yes, Christinon must go.
Yes. Yes.
But let me complete the sentence. She must go to jail.
Yes.
She must go to jail. What Christinon did to cover up the deaths of people seen actually terminated on national TV is not only sinful, it's more than regrettable, it is criminal. She must go to jail. To jail. Lock her up.
Lock her up.
Lock her up. Lock her up. Lock her up. Friends, this is racial profiling, but to be more specific, to add the specificity that makes the difference, it is racist profiling. This is the epitome of what the Constitution finds onerous. It is a means of identifying people that is not just unacceptable, it is unconstitutional. And we have a duty, responsibility, and an obligation as members of Congress to take up this cause as we're taking it up in the Homeland Security Committee. It was the Honorable Benny Thompson who assembled us and told us we have to bring articles of impeachment.
Yes.
It is time for the Congress of the United States of America, notwithstanding numbers, notwithstanding what may happen if the other side does not join us, but it's time for us to do our duty and bring articles of impeachment against a reckless, ruthless, lawless secretary as well as a president of the United States of America. I want to close with this. If you look like you're Latino, you may be stopped and taken away. If you sound like you're Latino, if you look and sound like you're Latino, you may be stopped and removed. I have now, pending in my office, a case wherein ICE approached a father, and they took this father into custody and required the father to go to the school so that they could take his daughter as well. Took them out of the country. This is the kind of behavior and lawlessness that people are having to cope with. People are living in fear in the United States of America, of all hues, I might add. It is time for the fear to end and ICE to be out. I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you.
I wanted you to see this for a couple of reasons, and I'll be brief. One, we cannot assume that racism applies only to black people. It applies to people of color, and it applies to our Latino brothers and sisters in this time of crisis. And if we're going to stand against racism, we've got to stand against it not only as it impacts us, but also as it impacts any person in this country.
On May 30th, 2011, Donald Trump took to social media and posted a controversial message about President Barack Obama. He wrote, "Now we know why Obama wants to take away your guns. He's against the Second Amendment. He's also against the First Amendment because he doesn't want the truth to come out." But what truly ignited outrage was the racial undertone, an unsubstantiated claim that involved comparing President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama to apes. Yes, you heard that right. Donald Trump, in a now infamous tweet, included an image that depicted the Obamas as apes, an image rooted in racist stereotypes that have long been used to dehumanize black people. This tweet was not an isolated incident. It's part of a pattern, an ugly pattern of racist language, dog whistles, and outright slurs that have been directed at people of color, especially black Americans. While some dismiss such language as mere political rhetoric, history shows us that words matter. They influence attitudes, policies, and the way society perceives entire communities. The use of racial slurs, stereotypes, and dehumanizing imagery feeds into a cycle of hate that can escalate into violence. It fuels stereotypes that make it easier for some to dismiss the humanity of others, and it perpetuates systemic discrimination. Throughout history, leaders have had a responsibility to set an example, whether by choosing words carefully or by standing against hate. Sadly, in this case, the language used by a sitting president crossed a line that many believed should never have been crossed. The aftermath of this tweet and many similar incidents reveal a broader societal issue: how media, political discourse, and public figures either challenge or perpetuate racial stereotypes.
And a good many of the people who are part of the wait staff this morning are persons of color, and they are Latino. I want them to receive an ovation from us for what they are doing to serve us, and I want them to know that we're going to try and make sure that they are not stopped and they are not taken out of the country, that they don't have to carry IDs on them, that they can be just as American as anybody else in this country. And this is important. Do you remember Emmett Till? If you do, raise your hand. Okay. Emmett Till's mother saw her son, who had been beaten beyond recognition. And everyone said to her, "You have to have a closed casket funeral." She said, "No, I want the world to see what happened to my son." And it was having that done, showing the world what happened to her son, that had an impact on the civil rights movement. It really accelerated the pace. Sometimes you just have to let the world see the horrors of racism. Look it in the face. In this case, we're going to hear the horrors of racism that we have to endure. Please cue the audio.
This message is for Representative Al Green and staff. Pro tip: if you act like a nigger, you will be treated as a nigger and viewed as a nigger. If you don't like being called a nigger and being referred to as a nigger, stop acting like a nigger.
You ain't gonna impeach nobody, you fucking nigger. Try it, and we'll lynch all you fucking niggers. You'll be hanging from a tree. I didn't see anybody calling for the impeachment of your nigger Obama when he was born in Kenya. He's not even an American. So fuck you, nigger.
This is what I and my staff have to endure. This is why the Congress of the United States of America has given us $20,000 a month for our security. This is why some people might not find going into politics an acceptable line of work. We have to do what has not been done, and that is stand up to this racism and let everybody know that we will not bend, we will not break, we will not cower, we will not allow racism to dominate our lives. We're going to take it to them just as they're bringing it to us. We're going to stand and fight against racism, and we're going to demand that newspapers like the Houston Chronicle cover these racist stories so that people will understand that while we want to fight anti-Semitism, and we must, anti-Semitism is abhorrent and we have to fight it. But we also have to fight racism the same way we fight anti-Semitism in this country.
Some media outlets failed to adequately condemn the language, while others did, and those voices are vital. Because silence in the face of such harmful rhetoric is a form of complicity. Today, various civil rights organizations, community leaders, and citizens are demanding accountability, calling out the language that fuels division and hatred. They remind us that words like those used by Trump are not just offensive, they are dangerous. And it's not just about condemning one tweet. It's about recognizing the need for a cultural shift, an acknowledgement that racial stereotypes and racist imagery have no place in our society. We must ask ourselves, how do we respond when powerful figures use language that devalues entire groups of people? Do we remain silent, or do we speak out? Educational initiatives, policy reforms, and community activism are all part of the solution. We must foster a society where respect and dignity are the norms, not the exceptions. And we must hold our leaders accountable. Because history teaches us that silence can be as damaging as hate speech itself. So today, we remember that words matter, that language can build bridges or burn them, and that every one of us has a responsibility to stand against hate, wherever it appears.
We have to do it. To this end, I have introduced a resolution in Congress styled affirming that racism is real and present in the United States of America and condemning invidious discrimination, which remains pervasive in the country. Now let me explain how racism impacts you in ways that you don't know. I served on the Financial Services Committee. I was the chairperson of Oversight and Investigation, and if ever we take the House back again, I hope to be chairperson again. Under the leadership of the Honorable Maxine Waters. And here is what we acquired the empirical evidence to substantiate. We found that when a person of color goes into a bank to get a loan, that person of color, many of you have suffered this fate. That person of color will have to pay more for the loan, will get terms that are not as favorable, and get less money than a person who is not of color and less qualified. That impacts your ability to have a house note that is reasonable, that you can afford. That impacts your ability to buy a car that you can afford and not have a note that you cannot pay. There is still racism in lending in this country, and it still impacts people of color. And when you go to buy that car, there is something called the front office deal. This is where you make a great deal on the car. But by the time you get to the rear office, there is something called the back office steal, wherein all the gains that you got in the front office are taken from you in the back office. And you can't prove it because everybody can get a deal that's different from everybody else. What do I mean? I mean this. You and another person of a different hue can go into the office on the same day, buy the same car, have the same credit, and you can pay more than that other person simply because of how you look. That has got to stop in the United States of America. And when I go to Congress, this is what I fight. I fight the racism that causes you to be shortchanged, to not receive the same pay as other people receive for the same work that you're doing. I'm going to fight to make sure that you don't pay more for your insurance because you happen to live in an area of town that has a zip code where there are streets that are not as repaired as everybody else, and you pay more for your insurance. I'm going to fight to make sure that you have the same opportunities as others, and that we will no longer find ourselves living in a country where black unemployment is nearly always twice that of white unemployment. You cannot convince me that after all these years, black unemployment is going to be twice that of white unemployment. Look, I'm not condemning all white people. There are white people of goodwill who are on our side and working with us. But we've got to change this, because if we don't change this, that means that our retirement income is going to be less. That means that we can't afford some of the finer things in life that other people can afford. Yes, there has been redlining. There are people who don't want to sell you homes if you live in a certain part of the community and you want to upgrade your life, your living standard, as it said, and move to another part of the community where you can have a bigger home, have a different yard. That is your privilege to live wherever you choose to. But there are still people in this country who don't want to sell you that home. But if you're willing to pay more than it's worth, they'll sell it to you. We've got to change that.